All right.
Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 43-year-old from Linwood, Ontario, Canada, a staple of the St. Clements minor hockey program. And he is a Wixa High School champion with the Elmira Lancers, where he was the 13th forward. He has been running amok with the Gear Jammers and Sunday Morning Old Timers in Elmira, Ontario. But he is best known as the author of Once a King, Always a King, where he dives deep into currently 10 Shed guys and a bunch of other fellas. And he is the vice president of one of the Shed's favorite teams, the Elmira Sugar Kings. And his family home was host to one of the most epic high school parties of all time. Welcome to the Shed, Scott Basler.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I'm quite excited about this. I feel like I'm part of an exclusive club. I made it.
You're a Shed guy, buddy. You always were.
I'm in. I'm pretty excited for it. So let's get her going.
Here we go. Okay. I get into how we know each other. Cheers, buddy.
No, hold on.
Well, we do have a sponsor today. So thanks, Baze, for setting this up. Today's sponsor is Rural Roots in Elmira, Ontario, Canada, folks. And I'm about to crack an Always a King lager because I always will be a king.
I got a sticky ale made with local maple syrup.
Sticky, like they even wrote it like they're Mennonites.
Yeah. And I drink mine out of a glass now that I'm an older guy.
Okay, well, you know what? I could drink it out of a glass too, but that'd bring up my old sponsor, which, you know what? I just never had the heart to call them back and say I drank all the beer again. So Bayfield Brewing Company's been great to me up here on the West Coast. And cheers for everything they've done. And now Rural Roots for tonight's episode. Right, Base?
Yeah. Super guy, super company, local, awesome place.
So he actually made a beer and named it the same thing that you've named your book.
Yeah, it's kind of the saying of the Kings, right? Once you play, you're always a king.
Yeah, so, but they say once a devil, always a devil with my other favorite team, the Cardiff Devils, right?
That's quite a common saying with all hockey teams.
Yeah, well, you know what? When you become brothers for a year, you end up, being brothers for life, right? That's how you start a Shed.
Yeah. I also got a Toronto Maple Leaf glass too. That was big last night.
That was, eh? You know what? It's hard. I watched it. I watched an NHL game. I did. But hey, that's a pretty cool can, eh? 50 years that my Sugar Kings have been around. That's pretty neato. And it's people like you that's how that keeps going. So cheers, Rural Roots. Thanks for sponsoring tonight. Okay, I get into how we know each other.
Okay.
Did you know that you invited me to one of my first high school parties?
Yeah.
You and Hecky. I felt like a pretty big deal when the older fellas, the grade 12s, invited me to drink beers with them when I was in grade 9. I felt like a pretty hot shit that night.
That might have been in Bamberg, right?
Oh, no, I think it was Tamara Reed, my old Bringette teammate's house across the road from the high school there.
Yeah. I thought there was Bamberg at Pugs' house.
Well, I was out there too. Yeah, Pugs lives around here, and I thought moving up to Kincardine, I'd see him all the time, but now I never see him. Okay. Yeah. So that party you invited me to, I felt pretty cool. And then I was best buddies with your brother too. And you know what we used to do? We used to play NHL 94 one Saturday every summer. And we would get together and play on Sega NHL 94. We'd play a best of 7 of best of 7s. And we'd each get a case of beer and see if we could do it.
That's a quality day right there.
It was quality time. That was when I would be gone for hockey and I'd come back for the summer. That was Baze and I's, little Baze's eyes. That was our day together, right?
Yeah.
I dominated him though. I used to toy with him. It was ridiculous. But moving on. In the intro, I said your family home growing up in Linwood, Ontario is home to one of the most epic high school parties of all time. They make movies about shit like that,
Yeah. Yeah. That was a pretty special night.
Bays Fest.
Bays Fest 2000. So
Is that when it was 2000? So I was at a roller hockey tournament in Kitchener, Ontario, playing for like Team Ontario or whatever. And I brought my whole roller hockey team thinking, geez, that's a bit of a stretch to bring my roller hockey team out to the Baslers. And then I got there and there were every high school in Kitchener Waterloo was there, right?
Yeah, a couple live bands and some fireworks and some hay wagons. And yeah, that was a big night. We sold a lot of t-shirts that night too. It was a good time. So.
I can't believe your parents allowed that.
Well, it's funny. There's probably just as many adults and their friends there as there was my friends. So they were just as excited about it. So,
well, and the other way we know each other then is I've brought it up multiple times on the pod.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
What?
EBC.
Yeah, pitcher, batter, catcher. Sorry, you don't have to be upset that you guys weren't good and you were ball players. Sorry. You guys couldn't hang with us.
I played in it 1 year. One year.
And we ran amok with you.
No, my partner was Rod Bauman.
Good partner there.
We were dynamite. But I had just started dating my wife. And
your head wasn't into it.
We had a family dinner that night on her side. And I could not figure out how to explain that I was going to miss this dinner.
For pitcher, batter, catcher.
So I had to leave. I had to leave. And I thought you were going to stand me up from a tree when I said I had to leave. Oh, you guys were hot. Oh, you guys were hot.
Well, so when like you plan it all year, and you finally get that day and a guy's got to go for dinner with the in-laws. That's tough to hear. Right?
But I was never part of it. So I wasn't brought up in the PBC culture. Right. So
no, you're right. You weren't as into it. You weren't going out to get the dirt for the mound the night before and get it all set up, building the fences. You were just there for a good time, not a long time, right?
Yeah, and it was quite intense. And
so you missed like what, the semifinals with Rodney? How mad was he?
He was pissed. He was pissed.
You guys, yeah, you'd be disqualified because then what? He's just going to bring in a random. You can't just bring in a random in the semifinals of a tournament. That's why you have registration. That's why you sign up for the day. If you're signing up for the day, you sign up for the day, Bays. You're going to get me upset again.
I think he had to play with Woody then. Woody took over. Oh.
Well, I know Weebs ended up winning with Woody, so there you go. Okay, so that's how we know each other, but that was your family home, and man, that was it. Literally, they're my favorite days like I've had in my life for pitcher, batter, catcher, other than, you know, getting married and having kids and winning championships. But winning pitcher, batter, catcher championships, right up there.
Well, winning is fun, right? Doesn't matter what.
It's the opposite of losing, they'd say. So I get into so how we know each other. You also just did something very kind for me, is you guys donated that Elmira Shirt Kings jersey to be raffled off here in the shed. And we ended up raising, I guess it was 300 after I exchanged it from pounds to euros to Canadian. It then ended up being 305 Canadian, right?
Nice. Yeah.
So that went to Friends of Hockey to also shed guy Kyle Rank, right?
Yeah. Super guy. So,
yeah. Well, thanks for donating the jersey and doing that. And then you guys had, we decided whenever I could make a game, we'd donate the check or whatever. And then it was a Sunday 2 p.m. game. And I'm like, well, we got nothing going on. Perfect time to bring the kids, right? And it was Jeff Snyder night, skip night, and you guys were raising the banner, and you guys are doing great stuff that you guys are doing that for someone like him. Like, it's something he'll remember forever, and now his family can see that for the rest of their lives, right?
Yeah. Like we'd love to have you down to drop a puck officially. It was just tough. Nobody really bumps Mr. Jeff Snyder. He's the man.
And and you shouldn't know. And I don't need a big thing for raffling off a jersey for talking to my friends in my shed base. I'm just having fun. But the funniest part of the whole, let my kids go out for chuck a puck. Colby got to put the puck out there, pick the winner, right? You set her all up. And fun fact for Small World, folks, is we did the chuck-a-puck, and the winner that night was Sage Baylog, whose father is the guy who made the t-shirts and the hats for me when I started this in Ontario at Mark Apparel. They made this hat I'm wearing right now. I got another order in with them. So if any folks want hats, I'm getting them from Dan Baylog, whose daughter won a hat and a shirt at Chuck-a-Puck.
Yeah. Great guy. Another great guy.
Oh yeah. And the hats he's making, man, like these literally are my favorite hats I've ever worn.
Yeah.
So,
well, you look good. You look really good.
Look good, feel good, pod good, right?
Yeah, that's right. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so that night was cool. So thanks for doing that for my family, because the kids will remember stepping on the ice and giving out the check. But then when you guys posted on social media, I must have really made an impact with the Kings with my time there, because you guys called me Brian Walton.
Yeah. We I guess we made a mistake there, and we didn't catch, our fact checkers didn't catch that right away. So,
well, when you're just doing things, it's, sometimes mistakes happen. It's like me in the shed, I said posters to guys with their names spelt wrong. It's all good.
I think we got it all right. We fixed it.
No, you didn't. It's still Brian.
No?
I'll always be Brian now, even in the group chat with all the fellas from the Kings 20 years ago. Now my name is Brian now.
All right, let's go with Brian then.
Okay, here we go then. Next question. Where and what are you doing now?
Okay, so living in Elmira, not too far from the rink. We moved here in 2010. Live on a nice little quiet street with some super good neighbors, and married, 2 kids. My son is 14. My daughter will be 13. So they keep us up. And it's a little wild. So just when you think you got it all figured out, then your kids become teenagers and you don't know anything.
And they got it all figured out.
Oh, they got it all figured out. So yeah, my son's into hockey and he golfs in the summer. And then my daughter she's into CrossFit, which is a little intense for me, but things are rolling pretty good. So,
well, that's good. So what are you doing for work?
So I work in town at Home Hardware. There's a little furniture department over by Tim Hortons there, and bike to work and walk to work. And when I walk to work, I listen to podcasts. So kind of works out kind of. So sometimes I got to walk a lot because some of these podcasts get pretty lengthy.
Well, if you're trying to keep up with me, it's tough to do because I've been doing a lot of talking.
It is. It's tough to keep up, but I've enjoyed some of these have been pretty good.
Well, thanks. A lot of them are, I guess, guys that you would have interviewed with, because we talked about this. You wrote a book.
Yeah, so a lot of those guys I talked to, yeah. So it's been
it'd be just like podcasting, but then you got to write the shit out after, eh?
Yeah, you got it figured out, right?
you just send her.
Yeah, not quite like the way I did it. I'm starting to think you got it figured out a little more than I did. Plus, you can drink, so you're good.
You weren't drinking writing your book?
No, I never thought of drinking.
That didn't get the creative juices flowing. I got my MBA in Cardiff, Wales. Had that Eli Jenkins in Cardiff Bay. You got to write 9,000 words, Baze. How are you supposed to write 9,000 words without a couple sips?
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. So.
But you would have had some fun doing that, because if I were ever to choose to write a book or start a podcast, it'd be about guys' hockey lives. And that's kind of what your book's about, right?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, there was a book released on notable graduates from EDSS, the high school in town. So it was their 75th anniversary. You and I weren't in there, but there was a few guys that we know, like Garrett Rank and a whole bunch of stuff. But then there was a bunch of people that I didn't know. And I
Did they
bought the
do
book.
anything important? Or like, what were they doing?
Like some guys that went to Elmira High School, they're like professors at Harvard.
Really?
So, so, so I have no idea who they are. And one is Malcolm Gladwell. Do you know who that is?
No.
So he's like a famous author. So like super smart guys have come through Elmira, and I thought it was pretty cool book to read. Some of these guys are pretty legit, and
Right.
so that kind of got it sparked a little bit because some neat stories that come through this town.
So you came up with this idea on your own?
Well, that kind of sparked it, and then with that whole shit went down in Humboldt, right? With the hockey team, right? You started hearing some of those stories of those kids, right? And those were kids that were never going to be superstar NHL players or anything like that, but good down to earth kids that got taken way too soon, and they all had stories, right, of how they got there, the coaches of how they got there and where they were going to go. And I thought, man, like everybody that plays on the Kings has a story, right, of how they got to Elmira and then what the hell happened to them when they left, right? So
Yeah.
no matter you went to the NHL or played in Europe or wherever, like it's kind of a cool story when you play for the Kings. So
Well, and that's what ties you to it, right? Is the Kings. And so so you did it 50, right? Because it was for 50 years. You picked 50 things to 50 couples or people, right?
no, I didn't get the 50. I didn't get the 50. No. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Only a few more calls, Bays. Yeah, I looked today. It's like I got it right here, man. So, folks, here it is. Scott Basler wrote this book. Once a king, always a king. 50 years, and it's got everybody on here. A lot of shed
Not
guys.
everybody.
No,
Yeah,
but a lot of shed guys. Rod Bauman, Barrett Eggets, Andrew Lackner, Rob Collins, Kyle Rank, Dennis Weidman. Like the list goes on. Like there are a lot of my buddies that played for the Shirkings ended up doing some pretty cool stuff, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Who do you interview, right? Who's a great Sugar King? A guy that played there 1 year or a guy that played there for 5?
Well, that's the argument I got, right? Like for Western Michigan University, the kid that shows up and plays half a season and leaves to go to the NHL and becomes famous. Like, is he a better alumni than the guy that played 4 years and but didn't have the pro career? Like, I don't know how that works for a team.
Yeah, that's the argument. Look at Ken Dunn. That guy's in 6 team photos, 6 of them.
6 team photos and fought John Scott.
Yeah, exactly. So I would think that guy is a legit Sugar King.
Oh, he is Mr. Sugar King. Yeah. And for me, it was interesting going back to the Jeff Snyder night. It was all the same people in the arena from 20 years ago, man. All the people working the concessions, the lines, the volunteers, and Clippy obviously is the horse of all of them. But like, it was crazy seeing how many of the same people it was still watching the hockey games in Elmira.
Yeah, it's a full force over there. Like when you put a King game on nowadays, it takes a whole team of people. It's a lot of work. I
couldn't believe how much you were doing, man. You never even got to watch any of the game. But you do it so calm and relaxed. But you did everything for my family in between each period. You had everything set up. And folks, he even donated from the Kings. It's behind me. That shoulder that's going to be closest to the pin prize at the inaugural 2 Ales and Hockey Tales golf tournament, June 25th, Ainsdale Golf Course, folks. You can win that Sugar King prize up there beside the gold helmet. But thanks for donating that. And I hope everybody from Elmira can make it up to Kincardine for the day and play some golf, because right now I got 12 and a half holes booked of foursomes. So I still need another, 6 foursomes to feel like I won and I filled a golf course, right?
Well, and I think we got a Rural Roots prize pack coming up too.
Well, there you go, folks. So you can register at aleshockeytales.com. And that's where we got the online store. You can buy clothes and hats and all sorts of shit But that's where you register for golf, and I hope everybody can make it. I know summers are busy, but she's going to be a time. We got a live band. We got some cool prizes coming in from people like Bays, and I'm donating 4 of these jerseys as a prize and some hats and shirts and shit, right?
Yeah, nice.
So
nice.
sign up for the golf tournament, folks. And if maybe your favorite hockey player will be there and he'll sign your golf clubs or something, right?
Hey.
Yeah. So anyways, this beer is good. The Sugar King Lager, or what is it? Once a king, always a king. It is good.
Yeah, they sell a lot of them at the games.
Okay, sorry, get back, but yeah, it's the same people at the Sugar King game. That's what I was getting at. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you're writing that book, obviously, I also am curious how you decided who goes first to last, because it's not alphabetical. So what were you doing there? Playing favorites?
Well, no, when I drive a forklift for a job, right? I don't write. So I had no clue how to write a book. None. So
Well, you did a pretty darn good job, buddy.
I started asking around, like, what do I do? How do I make a book? And so I had a guy down the street, he's an author and he writes books, like, legit.
So did you, though, man. Legit. That's like when I was like, I'm going to start a podcast, and I Googled it. I'm like, how do you start a podcast? And it was like, you download this app and then you sign up.
Well, apparently, like, yeah, you can just plug it into Amazon and you can write a book, right? It doesn't matter. So I tried to gather a team, right, of this guy down the street who's written books. I had an old English teacher from Elmira High School that was my editor. And then I had proofreaders throughout town that I dropped the stories off, and we were off and running. But as how it got plugged in, the neighbor down the street, he kind of put them in order. So there's no order.
There's no order at all. You gotta order it somehow. Like, I would have done it alphabetically so nobody could get upset about anything. But you think Barrett Eggets is okay being 10th on the list? That guy is too competitive to be down there.
Oh, he's pissed. But as long as he's ahead of you, is he in front of you? Then that's all that matters to him, maybe.
No, he cares about beating everybody. It's not just me. But we had a thing. But no, I'm above him. Haha.
So as how we figured out who was going to be in the book, right? Yeah. I haven't been around for 50 years. So there's guys in the book that I don't know who they are.
But you called them and interviewed them and got their story.
I got a list from Clippy, who's been around since day one. So he knows every single person.
Shed guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I talked to Jeff Snyder, future shed guy.
Yeah. That's confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah. So we composed a list. And then some of these old guys I called out of the blue because they don't have email addresses. So I had to call their house, and they're like, who the hell are you? They have no idea who I am. Mm-hmm. And why the hell would I be calling them to talk about the Sugar Kings? So there was a few dicey phone calls where I was like, nah, not talking.
But really? Were there some people that never ended up talking?
Well, they kind of talked like, yeah, call me back or whatever. I call them back and they just wouldn't answer.
They just don't have the time, eh?
So they're like, who the hell is this guy?
My new thing when I started this was I'm not a jock sniffer. I ain't going around looking for the big fishes to try and get listeners. But like, if I do know the guy somewhat, there's somewhat of a tie. It's like, shoot your shot now. Why not shoot it? Right? Why not ask?
Yeah.
All they can do is say no.
Well, there's a few guys that said no. So
I've had guys that never responded. And then once they found out about it through other people, they're like, oh, now I'll come to the shed.
Now they're good enough. All of a sudden they're good enough to come on.
Yeah, well, it's a thing. Okay, so anyways, let's stick with the book because I got a lot of my shed guys are on here. Okay, so you got Clippy, one of my favorites, and I would say Mr. Sugar King. Other Ken Dunn as the player, but Clippy is the guy that, Like he is the guy that does everything for the Sure Kings. He has from day one. And to have an organization stick around for 50 years in junior hockey in Ontario is you need people like him, right?
Yeah. And who volunteers anywhere for 50 years? 50. That is unheard of these days.
Yeah.
So for a guy to stick around, and we had Ken Dunn come out and drop the puck for a Sugar King game. I messaged Clippy and I say, hey, can you give me some stats on Ken Dunn? And he messaged me back within 5 minutes, and he knows the amount of games, points, everything there is to know. So he's like an encyclopedia of Sugar Kings. It is insane. And a lot of the information that I got for the book, like the numbers, come from Clippy. It's crazy.
And Clippy is short for clipboard, folks, because he always has a clipboard with him. Always a King Lager, Rural Roots Brewing Company, Elmira, Ontario. But yeah, he is an incredible person. What he's done for the Sure Kings and the community of Elmira, pretty swell guy. So anyways, moving on. Then there's a King Cardinite who goes to visit his grandma just down the road. Ethan Skinner. You had a little chapter on him too, eh?
Yeah. Well, I was on the board while Ethan played. And obviously he was legit, right? He's a legit player.
He's still on the up and up. He's still he's you would say still a prospect, not suspect.
Yeah. So I think he's third all time in points. Like he's a legit player, and he got that place rocking night after night. He was good. And super kid. And
he really is. He's like more grown up than me, and he's like 15 years younger than me.
I know. And he's a lot more handsome than you too.
I know. And fit. Thanks.
Yeah.
Base.
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah. Better dresser too.
Yeah, he's been out to the last couple of Sugar King games, and like people just flock to him, right? Like,
well dressed, good haircut, product in that. Like, no. If my kids could be like him, I would be happy. And like he puts a good name out there for Elmira Sure Kings everywhere. When I couldn't promote him more as he's getting into pro hockey here, and he just played in the what's it called? The Netherlands League, but ran amok. He's a responsible centerman that plays both sides of the puck, but can also score. And you can tell that in his personality. And when I beat him at pickleball.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You can beat him at something.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, no, I would promote him all over. If any GMs or coaches ever listen to the shed, Ethan Skinner, folks, check him out.
Right. That's right.
Some folks that go to Elmira don't get noticed, right? And it's tough because I see there's not as many scholarships out there now, eh?
Yeah, true. But the Kings lost, 4 guys to the OHL this year. So you factor that in, and it's changed, right? They're not coming to the junior B loop anymore for scholarships.
And that's weird. I don't understand, because you get a lot of the best players from this area that we're living in right now. And it's like, why are these kids not good enough anymore? I don't understand. Just because you don't want to come watch, like there's video, like I watched the game. There was players out there, man, just watching them in warm up, watching the goalies. I'm like, these guys are players. Why isn't anybody watching this?
Yeah. It's changed, right? A lot of kids go to the BCHL, and the Kings might lose a couple there this year, and
sad, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's it's just the way that it is nowadays, right? So, but as long as if the Kings are promoting guys to the next level, then that's all you can ask for.
Well, it's like when you gave the kids the tour of the locker room, right? And I got a video of them seeing the picture of me up there, but you see how many plaques of guys have moved on from the Elmira Sure Kings, man. Like, you would think NCAA coaches are coming to watch them, but I guess the Americans are a lot better at hockey now, and they don't need Canadians for scholarships as much.
Yeah.
Big problem.
Yeah.
Big problem. But yeah, Elmira has like promoted a ton of players just from the teams I played on. Obviously, we were really good, but I think we had about 10 scholarships.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot. So, but
Yeah. And we all did well when we got to NCAA. It's not like we showed up and we weren't good enough. Kyle Rank became a captain. Adam Hogg was like a captain. Andrew Lackner was an assistant captain. Barrett Eggets was a captain, all in NCAA. And now you're telling me you can't get scholarships out of that league?
were you a captain?
Assistant captain, yeah.
Oh yeah, good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I was an assistant captain there the last couple of years at Wastard, Michigan. Yeah, never wore a C, more of an assistant captain type of guy. Like to bring the team together, but not like lead the charge in the gym or anything. Right? just want to be part of the team.
That's
That's for
rank stuff.
Yeah, that's for other guys. That's not for me. I'm an assistant captain. Okay, so nowadays you're the vice president though of the Sure Kings, eh?
Vice president, yes.
Well, when I
Vice
saw
president.
what you all did that night, man, I couldn't believe how much you had on your plate, and you did it with such calmness. And like I showed up, we were already halfway through warmups, and the Chuck-a-Puck prize wasn't even there yet.
Well, it's a battle every game, right? There's a lot going on, and you know, it's getting tougher as the years go by, right? There's not as many volunteers as before, right? Through COVID, and takes a lot.
Lost a lot of volunteers. It's like around Kincardine here, we had different festivals every weekend, and volunteers did everything for everything. And now it's like to get that stuff all up and running again. It's like, where are the volunteers coming from now?
Yeah, they're not coming.
Flippy's still there.
Flippy's still there. Yeah, that's gonna be big shoes. He might be done after this year. He might call it after 50.
I think they said that 20 years ago. So, but what all is in the role of vice president? Because you did do a lot that day, sir.
So vice president, I just kind of make sure that we have a timekeeper and a scorekeeper and guy that runs the music and the scripts made for the announcer, and make sure everything's tidy on the game end. And then before COVID, we had a little minor hockey guy come out and carry the flag every game, and he led the team out. So we kind of organized that. And then, you know, we had minor hockey teams come in, watch the game, and then do a tour of the dressing rooms. And then sometimes they play the mini games in between periods. So a lot going on. Like when I first joined the Kings, right, it was a bunch of old guys and wasn't a lot going on. So
yeah, no, and you're kind of revamped it all. But one thing I would say is you're doing it right. I absolutely loved what I saw when I went back to Elmira, saw the kids in that tunnel when the team came out. The team was there getting ready to go out for a big playoff game. And you guys had 20, 30 kids down there ready to get high fives. And they were right by the players who were trying to focus, which, and if the coaches are good with it and the players are good with it, like it means so much to those kids that, like, I think that's the most important thing is getting those kids. They'll never forget that, right?
Well, yeah, when I first joined the Kings, right, they were, all the old guys were like, oh, you know, you got to charge the $2 for kids and $3 for kids. I'm like, just let the kids in for free.
Right.
Who cares? Like, so we finally got kids in for free, and it's jammed full of kids. Now, a majority of the parents tag along. Now, some parents probably drop their kids off and go, we'll see you in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But the kids buy candy, they buy popcorn, they crush pops, and the players love it, right? So I think the more kids we can get in, the better it's rocking. So
I
it's
thought
been
you
good.
guys were doing it right, man. Absolutely. And then like giving my kids and my nephews the tour of the locker room. Cheers, buddy. Cheers. Thanks for doing all that.
Yeah.
Brian thanks you.
Well, it's, we take the people for the tour of the dressing room, right? And all those photos are on the wall, right? So a lot of the parents like checking those out too, right? To see how many names that they recognize on there.
Right. It
And
is cool to see where all people went from Elmira, right? I
Yeah,
don't know a lot of it.
I think we should do a better job in the future. We're going to do a better job of promoting it outside of the dressing room so people can come into the actual arena and see that, right? And not room, but there's a photo up there of Patrick DeVigi, right? And you know him, right? Do you know him?
I don't think so.
So Patrick DeVigi played in the late 90s, right? I think he's from
No,
Sioux
that's when I'm a super fan.
Yeah. So he was only there 1 year. Then he got drafted to the Erie Otters, and he went to Erie, and he was a draft pick to the Edmonton Oilers. So this is the story that I always tell the parents in the dressing room, right? You pick out the guy on the wall that has made the most money in their career, right? And you know where they go right away, right? They go to Dennis.
Wyman,
right?
Yeah.
So Patrick DeVigi is on that wall, and he is now the owner of GFL. Which is Garbage for Life. It's the big lime green containers that you'll see. You'll see them everywhere now that I mentioned that. And that guy is now worth over $1 billion. $1 billion. So,
and his company makes the green bins.
He runs the garbage company. So next time you're out and about around Kincardine, you're going to notice these lime green garbage containers, like big dumpsters.
And he's a Sugar King.
And he was a Sugar King at one time. And he is now one of the richest men in Canada. Insane. I think he's 42.
Wow. Yeah. Well, if we would have thought of it, eh? But the one thing I was going to say is like you guys are, or whoever put the stuff up there, there is like a case up in the, what do you call that thing?
The concourse.
Yeah. You got all the pictures and you have stuff up, and there's a picture of me up there. And that, like, I got a picture from my sister this year of my nephews wanting to go up and see the picture of me and take a picture with it. And
yeah,
it's not just the random fans walking by that it means something to, right? The guys that get their picture up there, and they'll get a random picture from a buddy that's there watching their kid play. And they're like, holy shit, I just saw your picture up on the wall. Like, you guys get that out of the locker room, but out in the lobby area, there'll be a lot of people checking it out, right?
Yeah, I think, well, now that your son's a little older, you're going to start going to different rinks, right? I've been to rinks for the last 7 years, and I think it's cool
to check out the old memorabilia, right?
Yeah, so I think it's great when it's out and about and you can see it, right? We have Garrett Rank's sweater out there now, and it's cool when people can come in and go, holy shit, these guys played here. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So you basically do whatever the Sugar Kings need. How did you get into the Sugar Kings though? Because you're from Linwood. And I remember when you started getting into it, I'm like, I don't even remember him being a big fan. Cause like us fellas from Elmira, you're Linwood, like we were into it. I was I was life or death when those Sutherland Cup runs when I was in grade 6 to 8, man, that was wild watching that stuff.
Yeah, but I was in grade, Grundy and Collins would have been grade 12. So I would have been grade 10. So we used to come there on Sunday nights and drink, right? We used to fill up our cups, come in and drink, and then go out to the parking lot and drink during intermissions.
Yeah. People might do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still going on or what? I don't think it does, eh?
There's a few Yeti cups kicking around the arena. It ain't coffee, but but then, when the Kings would win, we'd go back to Grundy's house and party and drink, and then we'd go to the Static, right? So I wasn't a super fan like you guys were, but we were at the games because we were drinking. So
yeah,
all
it was
right.
what you were doing if that's what everybody was doing in Elmira back then, though, when they were on that run. That's what there was to do. The Sure Kings were on a heater, right?
Yeah.
And so what's going on now? You guys were down 2-1 last I looked in the finals here.
Yeah, they lost last night in double overtime.
Double overtime.
On the road, yeah. So they're down 3-1.
Oh,
So
yuck. And that's for the Cherry Cup.
that's for the Cherry Cup. So they got a tough road to climb. But
when's the next game?
It'll be tomorrow night in Elmira. So it's
well, you can come back from that. I remember those Sugar Kings, watching them play. And then the teams I played for is like, you can be down 3-1 and you play with that Elmira grit. You can come back and win those series, you know?
Well, we got the right guys running the show, right? We got Collins in there and Millsy running the big time. And so we got everybody.
So what's Millsy doing then? You're taking care of everything around the arena, right? So he's in charge of the hockey operations or what?
Yeah, he took over for Jeff Snyder. So he's the boss of the hockey team. So he looks after the hockey side of it.
Right.
So
he would have chose Collins to be the coach or picked him or recruited him.
Collins was there before, but obviously you're not going to replace Collins.
No.
Coach of the year. He just won Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he did. Episode 58, folks, I think.
So, yeah. So, I think, whatever happens this year is, you lose 4 guys to the OHL. Your number 1 center is not vaccinated, so he wasn't able to play. And then your deadline pickup that you're banking on to score goals, and he scored like crazy, breaks his collarbone in the first round. And, it's tough slugging, but I think,
you lose in double overtime. It could have gone either way, right? You just need a couple more breaks.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. I guess you never know. So.
Oh yeah. So who's coaching Cambridge these days?
Wallace is his last name. I don't know the Wallace guy. I don't know a lot of the coaching staff, right? I know a lot of the other guys that are like VPs, and I know those guys.
Right. So do you go to road games then, or you stick to home games?
Before COVID, we used to 1 or 2 guys on, like, if you're the vice president, you're on the board of directors, right? So before, you'd have to go to the odd road game as a board of director in case somebody got injured. And then it was your job to take them to the hospital. So that was before COVID. Now, after COVID, we haven't been doing that. But it was always kind of awkward, right? You were praying to God nobody got hurt. And then if they did get hurt, you were hoping it wasn't serious, but then it was pretty damn awkward, right? Like,
so how did you get in with the Sugar Kings though? Did we cover that? Because you moved to Elmira or whatever, but how'd you start? Like, how'd you get so passionate about the Sugar Kings later in life?
Well, we moved here in 2010 and my son would have been 2. So probably when he was 3 or 4, we started going to the games. And, like Sunday night, we'd go over and we'd get some French fries and we'd watch the Olympia, right? Not the Zamboni, the Olympia flood the ice. And he kind of thought that was cool. And we'd stay for a period and we'd go home. And then as he got, 4 or 5, I'm like, this could be way better for kids.
And right? I remember going there. I just went back there when we did our Czech presentation. I hadn't been back other than a few games in like a decade because I was always gone. But the one, like you said, the one time I did show up, I was like, it was in the new arena. I was used to the old one. I was used to the small barn where there's people on top of you. I showed up to the new barn and it was there were empty seats everywhere. And I was like, this is nothing like what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tough, right?
When I was just there though, it seemed a lot more like it. There were kids lined up outside the locker room. The boys felt like superstars. You could see it. And there were fans and there was a lot of people having beers and having fun at the hockey game, right?
Well, it's back when you would have played, people had kids in minor hockey, right? But their kids were on the ice maybe once, twice a week. Now, if you got a kid that's 10 years old, that kid's probably on the ice 3 to 4 times a week, whether it's with his team or extra training or dry land or whatever. So by the time
I don't know for your time. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff out there to do, but like, I don't know. I don't get into all that nonsense because you got to love it. You got to want to show up at the rink every day, right?
Well, and that's the issue, right? Is then all of a sudden Sunday night rolls around and it's like, where I don't want to be is at the friggin' rink because I've been there all.
And I guess it's kind of like working at a golf course. When you work at a golf course and you work there all week, when it's time to get your free golf, you're like, I don't really feel like golfing. But and I know, like, when growing up, we never really had too much hockey that you didn't want to be at the rink, right? You were dying to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as your son gets older, you'll see how it changed. Well, you've dabbled in the AAA with your son there and you see how intense.
I just went to like a tryout or two and then they were asking to sign and I was like, we're not doing this. Like, it's too far away. He's 9 or 8 at the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And then, interesting stuff though. Interesting landscape because the funny part to me though is talking around in my shed now for a good part of a year and a half into like 170 folks is like every one of those guys, how many of them talk about when they're 9 years old and where they played and like what they were doing? Like a lot of them never got better until they were 15, 16, 17. Like I just don't know. You gotta love it. They gotta love it, not the parents.
Well, that's a whole other podcast, right there. That's a whole other.
Guess we're not getting that deep tonight, are we?
No.
Okay, sorry. Then we'll move on. Well, hopefully the Kings can pull her out here because it's amazing how many times the Kings have won over the years, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a pretty good run as of late, but it's been a tough go these last couple of years with COVID, right? With trying to keep the team for those financial,
kids, right? It's got to be tough for the kids and for the organization, right? Financially. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right. There's not very many junior B clubs that are still community owned, right? Some of these teams have owners now. So,
and then you got to compete with them and like,
yeah. So, it costs a lot of money to run one of these junior B teams and, you got to find that money somewhere.
And that's putting people in the seats and yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to go up to the Sip and Bite restaurant after they've been closed for a year and a half and say, hey, do you got $1,000 you want to sponsor the Kings? Well, they haven't been open. So,
right.
How do you get sponsorship money when the companies haven't been open? So it's tough. So
it's been a strange time. But I was proud to be back at Elmira and see what was going on there and see all the people at the rink. And then you're doing the Jeff Snyder night and you guys were doing it right, I'd say. So you and Millsy doing it right. Good work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So other guys that were in the book you wrote about here, you got Andrew Lackner in there, eh? How many times did pitcher, batter, catcher come up?
Not once. Not once.
That's horse shit.
No. Well, the funny part about Lackner is, when I first started interviewing these guys, I thought like Dennis Weidman and Rob Collins, like I thought they were going to have the coolest stories, right? Yeah. But they turned out like their stories were pretty like plain Jane, right? Like they were good and they moved up and they made it to the NHL. Yeah. But guys like Andrew Lackner, like his story is awesome, right? Like,
oh, and that's like, I don't know. And you're hitting a nerve there because it's like, the way this all kind of started was I was obviously big into Spit and Chicklets. I was listening to all of them. And then it got to a point there where they were just having interviews with like big time superstar NHL players. And like, I was like, this isn't what I lived. This isn't the people I know. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to hear ones about my buddies of like having kids all over the world and doing all this weird shit that we did and the weird leagues you play in and the weird arenas. And that's what that's how I came up with this, was listen to that. I'm like, this isn't it. This isn't what I want to listen to right now. And then I thought of this, and you're right. And the other part that's weird to me is when I have on NHL players who are like the biggest careers are not the ones that get listened to the most.
Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. And the first guy I spoke to was Kyle Rank. And when I spoke to the lady that had written the book on the Elmira High School, she's like, get a notepad and take notes and a tape recorder and all this kind of stuff. And, when you interview them, everything's taken care of. Well, I talked to Rank for over 2 hours and I didn't take one note. I didn't do anything. I just couldn't believe the story that he had told, right? It's wild, crazy. And that's when and probably the same thing with you, right? Where I talked to Rank, I'm like, holy shit, I think I got something here, right?
Yeah.
Like these guys are legit. So,
right. And it's a lot of wild stories out there in the hockey world, right? It's like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Lax was a good guy. He was a great guy to talk to.
Oh yeah. Okay. Agats also, like, he's an East Coast player of the decade or something.
Yeah. So, we used to go to Agates' billets and drink beer and play cards. And like, that's kind of the last I ever seen Agates ever. So,
and then you had your interview with him then?
So it would have been over 20 years. And then all of a sudden I email him like, hey, and next thing you know, we're talking on the phone for an hour and a half, and it's like we're drinking beer at his billet's house.
Well, you keep hitting nerves here, but you must be missing it then, because this is what I'm doing now, is because like, it's like Matt Molson played junior B against him. We had a hell of a scoring race against each other. He got mono. Must have been kissing girls in high school. Not my fault. So I beat him by a little bit, right? And I haven't talked to him. I haven't wrote to him, like nothing since a junior B all-star game 20 years ago. And I just write something to him on Twitter. I'm like, hey, it's Brent Walton from way back when, started a pod. And he says, I'd absolutely love to anytime. Just let me know. And it's like that's hockey. It's weird, right?
Yeah. So Agates was really good. And it's shocking that he can remember everything.
Yeah. Clear mind for sure. Clear mind. Always a king logger, folks. I don't have the same memory as Agus. But he remembers every game. Rural roots.
Yeah, it's crazy. And when I listen to your podcast with some of those guys, it's like they go through every shift.
And I did though. Like, it was weird. And I was like, what do you like? How do you even know this? I don't remember any of this. Yeah, it is interesting what people remember though, but there's certain things that stick out to me, right? And then everybody's different. And that's what makes Coming to the Shed so fun, is everybody's got a totally different tale to tell.
There you go.
You're a vice president of a junior B team, right?
Yeah, who'd have thought?
And an author.
Yeah.
So where can folks, and that's another story of your book though, is my hockey team went to the Drayton Arena for a day tournament. Okay. After our lockdown bullshit, they open up the Drayton Arena for a 1-day tournament. We go there. There's a prize table and everybody can put their tickets in at the prize table. And there's your book on the prize table in Drayton, Ontario. And I'm there, standing there with my under 11 kids. I'm like, hey, fellas, check this out. And I opened up the book and I went to the page with me on it. And they're like, whoa, what?
Yeah, big deal. Big deal.
Well, it was, and like for those kids to see that. So where could folks buy your book then? Amazon?
Amazon, yeah, they can buy it on Amazon and off Sugar King's website. So that's kind of where it's at. But that's a good chance for your kids to see that, right? That's kind of cool, right?
It was cool, man. Like it was really cool for me to have that moment with it was a couple of the kids, and I'm like, hey, check this out. I just flipped to the page because they're just looking at the prizes at the prize table, and then they see their coach in a book, and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, we had, Ken Dunn dropped the puck the other week, and Ranker, he dropped the puck, and Grundy, for these guys to come out with their kids who are, probably 10 or 12 years old.
And those kids are going to remember that. And like, it's great that you're doing that for everybody, man. What you did for my family the other week was awesome.
And it's kind of like their kids look at them and go, what the hell is this? Like people actually know who they are, right? So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird because you're just the fat dad now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I don't know where are the notes here. Okay, so how did you get into writing? Because one of the things I got here is you were writing for the KW Record.
Yeah, I wrote for the KW Record a little bit. Yeah, so that was kind of neat, kind of a neat experience. Got to hang out down there at the Record. And
what were you writing about?
I don't know. It was just kind of the community editorial board. So I just kind of wrote what I wanted to write about. So
was it just this was just you wanting to do it? You just liked it or what?
Yeah. Well, they put out an ad for it, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go. Right. Like I don't have much else. I don't have a lot going on in my life.
Yeah. So you were writing for the KW Record. And that's how, is that how you're passionate to write? Is it a passion? Would you call it passion, writing?
No, I have a passion of reading. I read a lot. And then I kind of thought, well, it can't be that hard to write a book. It can't be that hard. Little did I know, 4 years later, I got a book. So
is that how long it took? 4 years?
Probably not 4 years. Probably by the time I started to actually get it printed, it was probably 3 years. But 4 years, like,
what was it like to see it, like when it first came to you and you saw it and you're like, holy moly, like I made a book.
Yeah,
pretty cool, eh?
It was pretty neat. Yeah. And then, we started, the Record did a story on it, and it was spreading pretty quick, and my email box was flooding in, and the Amazon orders were rolling, and I was like, holy shit. It's pretty neat.
That is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's, again, I could relate it to doing this, right? It was the first time I did it, and I listened to it. I'm like, this is like actually out there. Like you can listen to this, and then you just keep doing them and doing them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When I listened to you, who was the first one? Eggets? Eggets was the first guest?
Sure. No, Luke Piggott from the UK. He's a cancer doctor and professional hockey player, and a fantastic guy.
Well, I listened to Eggets. Eggets was early on.
Yeah, he was number 5.
Yeah. So I listened to that.
My brain can remember stuff. See,
that's not that long. That's not 20 years ago though. But I remember listening to the Eggets one, and I was like, holy shit, Wally, like, let's get her going here. Let's get her going, Brian, right? We're losing track here.
Yeah, Brian, get her going here.
And now, I listened to Rodney Bauman's the other week when my son and I are going to the J game, and man, you're like a professional. Like you're dialed in.
So you're saying I sucked with Eggets?
There was room for improvement.
Nah, I agree. There always is though, right? I'll re-listen to this. It's the same when I cook dinner. I revisit like how I cooked and what I've done and see if I can improve it. I got to listen to everyone and see, if I sucked or not. You're only as good as your last episode, right? Okay, so should we get into this episode now? Growing up in Linwood, and did you play for St. Clement's minor hockey?
St. Clement's minor hockey.
We're gonna get into your playing career now quickly.
Okay, so Linwood did not have a hockey team.
No.
So
you didn't have an arena.
No. So we
had a community center that hosted fantastic Halloween parties.
That is true. Yeah. with Jello shots that didn't have any booze in them, but you guys thought they did. So
well, I definitely chipped my brother-in-law's tooth in a grade 10 night there at the community center that I don't think he's ever forgiven me for.
So yeah, Linwood was a baseball town, so we had to go to St. Clement's to play hockey. So yeah, I played with the likes of Derek Forwell and Brad Dietrich and all these guys.
Goofy.
So yeah, kind of
goofy.
Yeah.
I tell you, that guy. So we talk about not seeing Pugs up here, Jamie Sawatsky, but I was at his wedding. Goofy and I obviously knew each other from high school, but been a long time. And my goodness, they put us at the same table at Pugs's wedding. And man, that guy's a funny cat. We had a time. We chatted, we enjoyed the dinner, and then we hit the dance floor, and we just had a heck of a time. That Goofy is a fantastic fella.
Yeah, super guy. St. Clement's guy right there. St. Clement's.
Yeah.
So,
and you guys had some good old chaps out there from Linwood and St. Clement's area. You guys had some good hockey players, eh?
Yeah. So we played.
Do they have their own minor hockey anymore, or where do they get amalgamated or whatever they call it?
They got amalgamated with Wellesley.
So they're all Wellesley now?
Yeah. So we were the St. Clement Saints growing up, and now they are the Twin Center Stars.
Right.
So yeah, they amalgamated. So yeah, but I was a career house leaguer for the most part.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah. So,
well, you had ugly skates, I remember, in high school. Really ugly skates. Weren't they like all black?
Yeah, I still got them. The white Nikes.
You're not playing in those.
Gear jammers, yeah.
You're not wearing those skates still.
Yeah, still got them. Those are legit looking skates.
Are those the Sergei Fedorov ones?
Fedorovs were all black. I don't know if any NHLer rocked the all black ones.
Well, they're some of the ugliest boots I've seen on ice. I remember that. Baze. They weren't good looking skates, man.
I still rock
coaches see that shit and they're like, well, we're putting this guy in house league and on the 13th forward because his boots are terrible.
Hey, I was the extra forward on the high school team, so I didn't really have to worry about it.
It's because of your skates. That's why you were the extra forward. You could have played. You could have been a player, but they saw the skates and said, this guy can't play.
It might have been talent level too. Maybe a bit of talent.
I don't know. Skates didn't help. But I do remember when I'm like grade 9, right about the cusp of making the Sugar Kings, I think grade, 10, 11, whatever. But I remember, I was grade 9. I went and watched our high school team play and you were on it. I think Hecky and Eddie, like you said, and Goofy, all the fellas, you guys won it all. And you got a lot of you guys, you couldn't play minor hockey. You could only play high school or something.
Yeah. So back then you could not play rep hockey and high school at the same time,
which is ridiculous. Now you can, right? They
now you can play AAA and play high school hockey.
Right.
So back when we played, you had to quit.
And you guys all quit to play high school hockey.
I didn't. I was moving up a level to play high school.
Because you're in house league. In St. Clement's? You couldn't make the St. Clement's rep team?
No. But I dominated local house league, right? Dominated.
Oh.
But yeah, so all of a sudden these guys show up to rep tryouts and they're like, you know what? We're not playing. we're going to quit and we're going to play high school hockey. And that was like rocked the world, rocked it.
Who came up with that idea to you guys all do that? Because then all of a sudden you guys had a squad, right?
But what would they be? They'd be major band and minor midget, maybe a year. Well, guess when they play? They play on weekends. Guess when high school plays? High school hockey is Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, when would you rather have your games?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, and have your weekends to be in high school.
Exactly. So guess what? So that kind of took off, and those guys that were missing games on Saturday nights going, shit, man, we got lots of time now. So to hang out
all weekend.
Yeah. Or to Mara Reeds, right? So we're good.
Invite the Grade Nines.
Yeah. Like
but you guys did win it then, eh? Like, so when you guys win it and you all did that together, like, I mean, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool that so many of you did that. Cause like was Scott McMillan, the guy running the Sugar Kings now, he was one of the players, was he not?
Yeah, he was on it. Yeah. So there was Chad Schwarzentroober was probably the best one. But yeah, pretty legit, went undefeated and rolled right
ran
through.
amok, you could say.
Yeah. And I wasn't the 13th forward, right? We only rolled with 3 lines.
I bet you're the 10th.
The 10th.
Yeah. Yes. Don't undersell yourself, man. You're the 10th forward, not the 13th. That's 2 totally different things.
Yeah, exactly. So
totally different. Totally base. Totally different. Okay, so anyways, yeah, the 50th anniversary though, the Sugar Kings were supposed to have a full shindig, like everybody was coming back for some hockey game and then like a dance, and then everything got blown up. So is nothing gonna happen then? Have we moved on?
No, I'm not moving on because man, we were rolling.
You were into it. You guys would have put in so many hours, volunteer hours, folks, into planning that stuff, and it all just got blown up. For all the volunteers all over the world that were doing stuff and planning stuff, like, don't get discouraged, folks. Shit's gotta get planned to have fun. Just like June 25th at Ainsdale Golf Course. Register at ailshockeytales.com. Live band, roast beef dinner, 18 holes of fun with your friends. Register at ailshockeytales.com, folks. I hope to fill a golf course with 18 foursomes minimum. Anything over that is gravy.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, right? Takes a lot. So, and
it's just trying to have fun. You're just trying to make sure everybody gets to have fun.
Yeah, and it we had the 50th. We had a date picked. We had it rolling, and there was guys flying in, right? Derek Hahn, podcast guy, shed guy, right?
You're talking about guys. Derek Hahn from Elmira, Ontario.
You know what? If I would have listened to that podcast halfway through, I never would have guessed.
You would have never known that was Butchie from Elmira, Ontario.
Crazy. Mind blowing. I could not believe that was him.
And I don't think he was real. He might have had a hint of that when I saw him in Germany in between, but like, he wasn't like that. It was wild.
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah. So I don't.
And those are the interesting stories you get in the shed, right? Is you don't know that shit happens unless you talk in your shed. Or else everybody is just at home doing their jobs, not talking about it.
Yeah. So, he was one guy that I could not track down. I couldn't.
Oh, really? Shoot, I should have helped you out there. He would have done it for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot from that era, right? Like, I couldn't have 20 guys from the 1998 team, right? So,
well,
over 50 years, I couldn't have them all from that team. So,
winning is important, and you got to get the ones from the winning teams first, right? Usually. But anyways, okay. What else do I got? Okay, so your playing career. You won the high school championships, okay? But you
Yeah.
also played with Wayne Gretzky.
Okay. I need a beer. Start talking.
I need what? I'm talking. I just asked you the question. Where are you going? What? Holy moly. Baze,
Okay.
that's not how it works. You
I
have
gotta get
yeah.
a shtick.
You ask me a question, then you leave. You don't,
All right.
I don't ask you a question. You're like, okay, I'm leaving now.
Well,
First
this is
time or
where
what?
well, we're gonna get the Gretzky stuff now, right? So
Yeah. So here we go. So you sent the photo and I said, I put it on Insta where everything
yeah.
for the shed is, folks. If you're not paying attention to that, you don't know what's going on. I put up a photo and I said, booked with you and Gretzky. But obviously it wasn't Gretzky, right? That's how you get to number one in the UK, not number two. Fucking spitting chicklets and fucking getting Gretzky, right? What are you gonna do?
I did podcast cheat on you the other day. I did listen to him on Spitting Chicklets.
I won't do it. I haven't done it, even though I want to hear it. Anyways, so you played hockey with him though. You met him, you know him. Did you guys not party together?
Yeah, we partied together. I spent a week with him.
With Wayne.
With Wayne, yeah. So
Walter was my roller hockey coach. I think you
oh, yeah.
probably remember that. Maybe
Yeah.
no. Walter was my roller hockey coach. That's how I know them, but I don't know Wayne. I've never met him.
Yeah. Well, we my brother and I attended Wayne Gretzky fantasy camp. So it I guess my dad would have got sick probably late 2008, and we were trying to think of something that we could do as a family, like me, my brother, and my dad, right? My mom had passed away. So it was just
and
me, my brother, and my
Bernice
dad.
was awesome. Bernice was my
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways.
So yeah, so we kind of got talk with my dad, and he was kind of battling some health issues, and we always thought we should do one big trip, and we talked about this Gretzky camp that he could come watch, and it didn't pan out, right? So my father passed away in December of 2010, and sat down with my brother, and I'm like, we got to do something, right? We got to do something, right? Our parents put us through all that hockey stuff and drove us all those, and so yeah, we settled on this Wayne Gretzky fantasy camp and sent off a few emails, and next thing you know, we were registered for the 10th year of the fantasy camp, and it was in February of 2012. We went to Vegas. We were off. So
Vegas. It was in Vegas?
It was in Vegas, yeah. We stayed at the Bellagio. They put us up in the Bellagio. And so yeah, there was a lot leading up to it, right? We didn't know much about it. It was $10,000 a person to go. So it wasn't, you're not dinking around.
Is that for the camp or is that flights and hotels? Always a keg lager. By the way, though, speaking of that, though, your parents honestly were in high school, of all of your buddies' parents, like they were the best. They were awesome. They were welcoming to every single person. They were always in a good mood. They were always having fun. You could end up making mistakes in high school. They didn't judge you for it. They moved on, like they were fantastic folks. And I'm sure you guys miss them. So yeah. Anyways, but that's how this story all happened, right?
Mm-hmm. So we sign up for this camp, and they message us and say, okay, you guys are in, right? Like it's it's a big deal to get into this
and to put 10 grand up.
10 grand, right? Like, my parents aren't multi-millionaires, right? So, 10 grand is a lot of money for go away for a week. And you got to get there yet too. You got to fly there. So it just kind of worked out weird, right? And they have a bunch of special guests, right? And ex-NHLers, and they do a lot, right? It's a big deal. So
okay, I'm picturing this. So you show up at the Bellagio, right? You fly in and go to the Bellagio, and then where's the arena, and what are you doing all day? Like, I don't understand.
So leading up to it, they release who are going to be the NHL players that are going to be there, right? So, they released Brett Hull and Brian Leach and the Courtnall brothers and Dennis Savard and Jeremy Roenick and all these guys, right? So they make 4 teams and they put a select few stars on each team, right? So my brother and I are watching this going, shit, who's going to be on our team, right? How are they going to do this? And
you're already registered, you're already on, you just don't know who's on your team.
Yeah. So, we're thinking we want Brett Hall, we want Brian Leach, we want these guys, right? So an email comes into my email account from some guy I don't know. It turns out that his father and my dad used to drink whiskey together back in the day, and he works for Wayne Gretzky fantasy camp. So
a guy that knew your old man?
His dad and my dad used to drink whiskey together. So this guy now has a connection to me.
So connections matter.
Yeah. So he calls me and he goes, "Are you guys legitimately coming? Your father was Joe Basler." I said, "Yeah, we're coming." He goes, "I am on it. I am pumped. I'm on it." Right. So we show up to the Bellagio. You have to get fitted for equipment, right? You bring the equipment to Vegas that you're under equipment, right? So anything that you can see as a player, they provide.
So helmet, gloves, jersey, socks,
stick. They give you that. So you got to go into this room to get fitted.
So you're only bringing your elbow pads, jock, and shin pads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your brutal skates. You didn't play with Wayne Gretzky with those brutal fucking skates.
Well, that was a talking point, man. He wore Nikes, right? He wore them.
Carry on.
So we show up to the equipment fitting, right? And this guy that we know, his name's Colin. He's like, "Holy shit, you guys are here. Tonight is like a meet and greet, right? A big bash to start the week off, right?" So
how many people are in this camp?
So there's 4 teams, probably 15, 17 guys on a team. So I don't know, what does that equal? 60 guys?
You say 4 teams?
4 teams. Yeah.
That's if it's 15 guys, that's 60. That's $60,000. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So show up, we get fitted for equipment. That night is a big gala to kick off the week, right? Because when we went for fitting the equipment, we didn't meet anybody. There were no NHL players there, right? So we go back, we crush a few drinks, we get kind of ready. Because my brother and I are shitting our pants, right? Like freaking out.
Yeah.
That this is going to happen, right?
Right.
We're going to meet Wayne Gretzky.
Well, and like your brother Baze is one of the biggest New York Ranger fans of all time. Like if he would meet a New York Ranger, he would pretty well shot himself, right?
Yeah, Brian Leach, right? Like,
right.
That's the guy.
Yeah,
right.
That's the guy. And Mike Richter. Mike Richter used to always get your brother hot and bothered.
Thank God he wasn't there. Shit might have went down.
Holy moly. Yeah, he might have got molested.
So I should mention that our wives are there, right? My wife and my brother's wife. And they don't give a rat's ass, if it's Wayne Gretzky or whoever, right? So we show up to this gala and like the drinks are flowing, right? Like anything you want. And the NHL guys are there. No Wayne. Wayne's not there yet, right? He appears late, right? He shows up late.
At his fantasy camp, yeah.
And you're kind of Yeah. So he makes a grand entrance, right? Once everybody's there, and everybody freaks out when the big guy walks in, right? And it's like, holy shit, that's Wayne Gretzky, right? Like that's him. That's Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
This guy that we know kind of through, he goes, he wants to talk to you guys, right? He wants to meet you, right? Because he knows this, he knows the story of why we're there, right? We're there because of our parents, right?
Yeah.
One guy there owned the St. Louis Cardinals, right? So he, it's not a big deal, right? Not a big deal for him.
No.
Right?
A little bit bigger deal for you guys.
Yeah, there's not too many forklift drivers and air conditioner installers in this group, right? It is
right. Putting up the 10 G's to be a part of it.
Yeah, then they're not crushing Bud Lights like they're going out of style because they're free, right? Like we're up, right? This go time, right? So there's
you put your 10 G's in, you're gonna get your money's worth, right?
Oh, I'm filling my pockets. Filling my pocket. I'm only drinking half of them, right? I'm only drinking the top half.
Oh, aren't we all the same when we get out in public?
Yeah, exactly. So a little nervous to kind of approach some of these guys like Grant Fuhrer and all these guys, like, guys that we watched growing up. So, my wife was really good. She could kind of approach them. And next thing you know, we're having drinks with Bobby Hull and Brett Hull. And, we're kind of building up to it, right? Building up to the big guy. So we're pretty, half cut, and, the crowd is starting to thin out. And then the big guy shows up on the balcony and comes over and he goes, okay, you guys are the brothers, right? The brothers that I've heard all this stuff about, right? And it was just like, well,
yeah,
me, him and my brother just talking about our parents and what his parents did for him. And, like, I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe that I'm standing beside Wayne Gretzky talking to him. Like, it was wild, crazy. And it was almost like he knew who we were. Right?
Well, he should now, right?
Yeah. So, we crushed beers that night, and he was jacked up, and he said, you know what? Everything that happens this week, I'll make sure that you guys are front and center, right? I'll look after you guys. Whatever you need, you come talk to me and I'll get it sorted out. So,
wow.
And
that's incredible.
Good. So yeah, the next day we show up at the rink was about probably a 25-minute drive. And I was told, be on the bus early, get on the bus early, because Wayne and those guys sit up front. And I wanted to sit with those guys, right? I want to sit with those guys.
Yeah, you want to do the full fantasy camp.
Yeah, I don't want to sit with my brother or my wife, right? I want to sit with Wayne Gretzky, right? Yeah. So my brother is crushed beyond means, and he can't get out of bed in the morning while
guy gets hung over, eh? What a puss. Oh, sorry. Yeah, he gets hung over. Yeah, he's soft. Yeah. Yeah. One of my best stories of your brother, though, is he had never put on sunscreen in his life. And we went to the Dominican Republic. And I'm not joking. We're like 17, 18, or 16, whatever. We go to the Dominican Republic, and he's never put it on. He literally squirted his hand and did one wipe across his stomach. And for the rest of the week, he had like one hand smear that wasn't completely burnt, and everything else was like a lobster. And he's like, I didn't know you actually had to put it on down here. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's what we're dealing with, right? This is what we're right? So on the bus ride, when I'm sitting with Wayne Gretzky and Brett Hull, he's at the back of the bus because he's late, because he's hung over. And hey, not my problem, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. If you didn't get to experience the whole camp, Kevin, that's on you, right?
Well, that's
but you guys,
thing, right?
So what goes on at a week fantasy camp at this? Like, what do you all do? You play hockey and party, or what do you do?
Yeah, hockey, lots of hockey, right? You try out and they rate you. They give
What?
every have like a tryout, right? Mike Keenan runs the practice, right? And he puts you through the drills. And then there's
Seriously.
guys up in the stands. They rate everybody 1
And
to
then
3.
try to make even teams or what?
Even teams, right? So the way it worked is if your team won, you got your name on this big trophy, and the trophy would be kept at Wayne Gretzky's restaurant in Toronto. And when you went to Wayne Gretzky's in Toronto and your name was on that cup, they would bring it to your table while you eat.
You're telling me the same restaurant that your little brother and I went to at Rodney Bobbins episode, the KW Road Breakers in the limo, full deal. You're telling me his name would have been on a trophy there and he would have got to have it at the table while he ate?
Yeah. So me and my brother are like, hell yeah, we go there. We go to that restaurant. So I was in it, right? I'm like, I've never had my name.
You'll do anything. You'll block any shot. You would have blocked it with your face.
So I don't know how official the rankings were, but they ranked the teams and they made the teams and they posted them later that night at a party. And then they put the pros on the teams, right? So going into it, I'm like, I don't want to be with Dennis Savard, right? That guy played for the Habs, right? So, but he was like out of control. He was worse than me and my brother. He was nuts. So,
do you know that even though they play in the NHL, they're just normal people?
Yeah. So that it took
Weird,
a lot to figure a lot.
It takes a while to figure that out.
Yeah. So that night when they were releasing the teams, Dennis Savard is just super jacked that we're on his team, right? He's pumped. I think he lost his father, one before that, and it was kind of, on our team. And then we had Guy Carbonneau, right? He was on our team too.
How long after your old man passing did you guys go on this trip?
So he passed away 2010 in December, and then it was February 2012 when we went.
Yeah, so it's still pretty all fresh and
Mm-hmm. So then you start the games and it's go time. And how it works is
you're in a full tournament and you guys paid, and now you're full competing for a trophy. And
but I will say, like, there were people that didn't even show up to the games
because they couldn't play hockey.
Or they were hungover.
Skate.
They just didn't give a shit because it didn't mean anything to them, right? So,
but for you guys, you want that trophy. I know you guys. I played pitcher, batter, catcher against you.
Oh, I was filling up.
Oh wait, no, you left for the in-laws. Sorry, what?
I was filling up my bag with the free tape and shampoo, right? Because I never had that before, right? I'm taking everything I can get.
That's like when I was allowed to go to an NHL training camp. A guy said to me, he's like, you don't know how many you're going to be allowed to come to. He's like, get as many free shirts as you can.
Oh, yeah.
Because they got a box of Columbus Blue Jacket shirts right there. And you're like, God, none of them fit me. They're all way too big, but man, they're nice shirts.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking everything I can get.
This should have got more. Gosh.
But yeah, they got like that photo that was posted, right? We all wore Chicago Blackhawks.
So right? Was Gretzky on your team?
So he rotated through the teams.
So he played on every team, but then every team had a star. So yours was Dennis Savard for the Blackhawks.
And Guy Carbonneau. But everybody wore Chicago Blackhawks. So you were either home or away. Because Gretzky always thought those were the best sweaters in the NHL. So that was the theme that year, Blackhawks. And our coach was Bobby Hull, who's a Blackhawk. And then our other coach was a guy named Cap Rader, who coached Gretzky in Indianapolis. So legit, like coaches, right?
Well,
So
this is my small world one for this shed time. Then is you talk about Bobby Hall being the coach was so my parents would always say like you can't get tickets. Leaf games are too expensive, which they are. You can't go. I can't go. I can't go to the Leaf games. They're too expensive. But I did get to go one time, and it was against St. Louis, and I was sitting in the crowd watching the game. And Bobby Hall was sitting right behind me watching his son Brett Hall play. And that was my one Leaf experience as a kid was Bobby Hall was sitting right behind me in the crowd. So that's your small world of the hockey spider web today.
well, there you go. There you go. He was the assistant coach on our team. So, and so then it was go time. Then it was game time.
So did you win it?
No, we didn't. We did not win.
House league players. God damn it.
But the wildest part of this is we had to win, right? We had to win to get to the finals, right? We lose, we're in consolation. We win, we're in the finals. That game, Gretzky is on our team, right? He is terrible, terrible.
Hungover, out of shape, not trying.
You name it, he was in.
All of it.
Right? Yeah. So
and you guys have paid 10 grand to go to the fantasy camp, and the guy just is in one.
Terrible, terrible. He was awful. So my brother,
effort matters, right? Effort matters.
So they obviously start the game with Gretzky centering me and my brother, right? Because they always looked out for my brother.
Your brother is not playing goalie?
No, he's playing forward. He's playing forward.
That's going to help the team win the trophy.
Well, it might be better than him playing net, the way how hungover he was. So we're good there.
There you go. He wasn't a bad goalie, though.
So, but he kind of found his stride down there, right? He was starting to snipe some goals, starting to snipe some.
You're talking about your little brother or Wayne Gretzky?
Not Wayne Gretzky. I had to come off the ice and tell Bobby Hull that I don't want to play on Wayne Gretzky's line anymore because terrible, terrible. It was awful, awful. I couldn't handle it anymore.
Well, I've watched the classic games. Like the guy never even came back past the far blue line. Like he literally did go back.
Well, I wanted to get my name on the trophy. Right. So
so it's like pitcher, batter, catcher. And the guy's like, I'm heading to my in-laws for dinner.
Well, it was, I'm thinking we're going to light this shit up with Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Like this.
And the guy's just not tried. He doesn't give a fuck.
Oh, he was terrible. Awful, awful. So we had to bump him. But my brother ended up being out there with him, and my brother scored, and it was assisted from Gretzky. So my brother.
What are we playing? 5-on-5?
Oh yeah, 5-on-5. Legit
full
hockey.
Game.
Full game. So my brother he has the score sheet at home. Goal scored by number 93, which is my brother, assisted from 99. So. Not a bad story. So,
I mean, the thing is, though, is there's a lot of different things like you can do, but like that you guys have that memory and you got to do that. Like,
yeah,
not many people in the world have those stories, right?
No, and it was a big week, and it stayed in. I still have Dennis Savard's number. Talked to him at Christmas time, right? Like he was legit. He was a legit dude. Big time guy, but yeah, it was a long week, man. There was a lot of pints and
bitsy times, eh? A lot of fun.
But yeah,
what a way to remember your parents and everything they did for you. But like, I mean, they're great folks, and they sure made my upbringing around the Elmira Linwood area better, having them around.
Yeah, and a couple years ago we were at Rim Park and there was a hockey tournament going on, and one of the scouts was a guy by the name of Eddie Neal, who was a goalie for the Oilers in the early 80s with Gretzky. And he was at the camp. And I talked to this guy at Rim Park, and I explained who I was. And he took a photo of me and sent it to the big guy. And came up to me after the period, and came up to me, showed me the text, and he goes, Wayne just texted me back. He goes, that's one of the brothers that was at camp. So
he does remember you. And like, how would he not, right?
Yeah. So there was a few mornings there where I don't think they expected us to show up. So
but you guys are good old tough boys that are gonna show up.
Yeah.
And I bet you guys were just giving her trying to win that trophy.
Oh yeah, I was into it, man. I wanted that thing, but wasn't meant to be. We were console. That was it.
Okay. Well, trying to think. I don't know how long we've been going. You told me it wasn't going to take that long because you hardly played any hockey, but I think we've chatted quite a while.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. Well, you got anything else for me before we shut her down?
Well, just there's a few guys on the billet dad. I was a billet dad. So,
you were?
Yeah, I was a billet father.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to hear about this. You were a billet father, so you let like we'll say a 16 to 18, 20-year-old fella into your home, eating all the food, just running amok, and you're fine with that. You good? Are you frozen big time? You're a billet dad?
Yeah, billet dad. Yeah. So we kind of
how do you decide to do that? Whose idea is it? And you bring it up to the wife and like, I think we should have like a teenager live in our house this year.
Well, we thought it might be good practice, right? Like our kids were pretty little, right? Like they were like, 6 and 7, right? They were little.
So whose idea was it?
Well, my wife kind of knew how it works.
And she knows how passionate you are about the Elmira Sugar Kings and how you want to help. And yeah.
So I also had an in of who we were going to get, right? Like, I seen
and
the
he's
list.
A good kid, baby.
Yeah.
Average at best.
We had talked to Lori Shantz, your old neighbor.
Next door neighbor. They went through her. They did her for like good couple decades.
You should get her on the pod. She's got some stories. She's got some stories. Good and bad, I'm guessing. But yeah. So
some weird ones for sure.
So yeah, we signed up for this billet kid. He was from North Bay. Pretty highly touted player. And so yeah, it was kind of weird. He just showed up on a Friday night and
just started living in your house.
Yeah, just started living in our house. He was 17.
And so like there's so many billet pair, and that's one thing I got written down in the notes, which we haven't really got into, is like through the shed time here, I've had on equipment managers. Maybe I don't have it written down here, but I've had a whole bunch of different people that it takes to run a hockey game. And when I saw you at that Elmira Shuriken game and everything you did that night that nobody noticed, nobody's patting you on the back, nobody's saying you played a good game. You were in charge of so much of that hockey game and nobody even paid attention to anything you were doing. It was wild.
Well, who buys all the food for the concession, right? Somebody is in charge of that, right?
But there was just, yeah, What
There's
you
a
were
lot.
doing was wild to not get
Yeah.
any acknowledgement or anything. And anyways, it takes a lot of people to make a hockey game happen. It takes the coaches, the refs. Maybe that's why I have it. Maybe I made my notes for a different episode with the refs there, and I was like, it takes everyone to make a hockey game happen, right?
So yeah. So and then yeah, you got some out of town kids that are looking for a place to live, and
And
you
you
got to.
did her. How many years did you do it?
I think he lived with us for 3 years. His name was Jeff Jordan. He was from North Bay.
And you get
And
quite close to him by 3 years of a dude living in your house.
man, I'm telling you, it you don't realize what you're signing up for when
Because then all of a sudden they just leave, right? It's like signing up to be like kind of like part of their life, but like they're gonna just leave you and like
yeah, it so you're 17. Well, you remember when you were 17, right? I was 17, right? So all of a sudden this guy's living with you. I'm like, hey buddy, I know everything there is to know about being 17.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's get on the same page here, so we're not getting into too much trouble. So, but yeah, he showed up. He was a legit player, like super good player. Worked hard, and he wasn't like you or I, right? He was
What does that mean?
he was into like school work and working out, and
I always did good at all that stuff. I just didn't want to do it.
So yeah, he moved in. We had a bedroom and a bathroom for him in the basement, and showed up. And my wife took him shopping and kind of got the ball rolling. But
Well, like it's weird when we were talking about there. It's because like my under 11s, the season ended. I haven't seen them really since. Like the weekend ends, we all drive back to Kincardine, and everybody goes to their own different houses and places, and then they go to their different schools. And we haven't been a team since it ended. And like I miss the little pricks. And
yeah,
I got all these mini sticks ready for them, and we're trying to lock down a day to have a year-end party. And it's like, as soon as that's not your priority, as soon as that's not what you're doing, it's like to try and get a hockey team back together. It's crazy. And then like you hear about the Shirt Kings 20 years later or 50 years later, and it's like to get everybody back together, it's crazy because you can show up for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for 8 months, and now
yeah,
you can't figure out a day to get everybody together.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's wild, and it's amazing how close you become to those kids. Or this kid that's living with us, right? He left after the first year, and he's from North Bay, so he was toying around with the Ottawa leagues and this and that, and we weren't sure if he was going to come back, right? So it was kind of emotional when he left, right? Our kids love him,
right? And your kid would get attached to him, and then all of a sudden,
yeah, we're not sure, right? And then all of a sudden we catch word that he's coming back, and everybody's jacked, and comes back for year 2, and then he's captain for year 3, and he's captain when they win the Sutherland Cup. And you know what,
so that's that picture that you sent for the poster. That would be the guy you're with there.
Yeah.
What was his name?
It was kind of, when he showed up, Jeff Jordan was his name, or is his name. And, he shows up at our house, and I'm like, hey, like, if you get into trouble and you need a ride, like, call me. I'll come get you. Because I might need to call you for a ride sometime.
Yeah. What goes around comes around. That was a saying around Elmira, St. Clements, Linwood. Our whole childhood is what goes around comes around, and it'll all work itself out in the wash. And I think it makes the person you are. It makes growing up with the people you grow up with to make you who you are, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it, he was kind of putting his toe in the water a little bit, right? To see what he could kind of get. And I'm like, you know what, if you get all banged up or whatever, I'm not going to tell Skip or I'm not going to tell the coaches, right? That's fine, right? You're a teenager, a giver, have at it,
Yeah.
right? But
You got to do
don't,
your own thing. Figure it out.
yeah. I said, there's, a couple of rules, right? Like, don't get your girlfriend pregnant and don't get an impaired, right? Either if any of those two happen, then you're in trouble. Anything else, we're good, right? We can handle that, right? I'll come get you.
You're a good kid and you're just living and learning. Like, yeah.
Oh, so yeah, he lived with us for 3 years.
So then he left, and then so that's the one part, like the Shantzes that lived next door to me, they could always move on. So they'd have one kid for 3-4 years, and then they'd move on to the next kid. And some of them are my best friends, and they were living next door to me. But so did you have that one kid and you're like, we're not fucking doing this again? Like, that was too emotional.
It was, you know what? But by the time he left, he was going away to university, and we were super proud of him, and we thought, you know what, we did a good job with him, right? We helped him out. So by the time he left after the 3rd year, we were super happy, right? We were so glad that he was moving on, and he went to Laurier, and he lived at Laurier, and he was still at our house once a week eating our food anyway. never really
because he's
left.
part of the family now, right?
Yeah, so he'd come over for supper, play video games with my son, and shoot pucks in the basement, and then he'd leave with a bag of groceries. So right. He was good. So
no, and it's just like having another kid, and like that's the hockey family, and that's what it takes. And it's like when people look at it's crazy for me to see, because now I'm seeing what goes on in minor hockey and who does what and who's stepping up. And it's like, well, I'll step up to coach. I don't want to do the other shit. I just want to coach. I want to have a team. I want to know when the practices and the games are. I want to show up and do that. But there's so much other stuff that goes on that you need people to step up and do it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And he was super grateful, and his mom would come down and she'd spend the night. His girlfriend would come down and she'd spend the night at our house, and we'd go on holidays and we'd drive through North Bay and we'd spend the night at their house. And
it's good. Like you got people that they're family, right? Like realistically, like they're a hockey family, and I got a lot of it. And that's why I hope June 25th, we can fill a golf course, folks. Whatever you're doing, I know everybody's busy, but June 25th, I hope I can fill a golf course with people with great attitudes that want to have fun. And yeah,
that's what it's all about. There you go.
About having a good time and enjoying life, right? You only get to do this once, right?
Yeah, it's funny how we get a little bit older now and things start to get put into perspective. So
it is a little weird, because I won't, whatever. Your parents, like when we think about it, like
that's now all of a sudden we're there, right? We're there.
And it's like they were just like us.
Yeah.
And it happened really fast. And it was like, holy shit.
Yeah. So there you go. You just don't know.
You don't know. Every day's got to be a good day for living. You just got to have fun every day, right?
Yeah. So there you go. So what else you got?
I'm trying to think. I don't think I got anything else other than I would say hockey seasons are coming to an end. The Sugar Kings are still playing, which is wild. But in the last year here, there's been a lot of like raffles and a lot of fun stuff happen in the shed. We've raffled off the Sugar King jersey with you. We've raffled off a Steelers jersey. No, I didn't. A Dixon jersey, a Gratz 99ers jersey, a Matt Sundin jersey, my last jersey, an under 11 Kincardine Canucks signed jersey. And we've raised quite a bit of money for charities and whatnot. And when you think about it, when the season comes to an end, like I'm pretty well flat out here. I'm pretty well full go all the time. I don't really think about what's going on and like the different fun things that have happened. But when I look at everything that's gone on last year, pretty fun stuff, but I couldn't do it without guys like you bringing my family to Chuck a Puck, having me be the sponsor of this, me talking to guys in my shed, like that. We had the hat and the shirt from Mark Apparel, Dan Baylog, right? Like it just none of it works unless
Yeah. Well, it's it's the talk of town, right? Like, I spread the word that I was coming on here tonight, and people are jacked up. People are pumped. So
it's interesting because it brings people back together, right? It's like I can have guys on from the UK and people from the UK listen. I can have guys on from Elmira and then people from Elmira listen. It's like it's so fun.
Yeah, well, you've done a super good job, man. I'm super proud of you. You've done
your book, dude, this is real. And I have it in my hands, folks. And you can buy this on Amazon or the Sugar King website. And I tell you, did a fantastic job. And there's about 10 shed guys on here right now, but give me another year and there'll be about 20, right?
Heck yeah. Like Jamie Wright, get him on here.
Oh, there's lots to go through, man. I can't keep up. I don't even have time to fart.
What about Cam Stewart? You know him?
Well, yeah, that's the only reason I ever found out about the NCAA was he had played for the Sugar Kings and my old man had told me about him. And then I saw him playing for the Michigan Wolverines. I'm like, I know who that is. He played for the Sugar Kings. And then that was like when I started thinking NCAA was because of Cam Stewart.
Yeah, man, I tell you, I didn't know that guy for a hole in the wall. And I drove to Detroit one day to watch the Jays play, and he talked the whole way from Elmira to Windsor about his career, and it was unbelievable. And he was
so. How'd
legit.
You find him?
Well, you look at any record books for the Sugar Kings, and he has.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
there were some that were unattainable.
Yeah. And he didn't even like hockey. He was a football guy. He just showed up and played. But he was who gets drafted by the
out
Boston
of the Sugar Kings?
Yeah, unbelievable. So yeah, he is a guy you got to get on here. You clear 5 hours. It might be a 4-parter with that guy.
Well, yeah. Well, nobody. There's lots of people that you can always do more episodes, right?
Yeah. Well, start spreading the word and get her going here. So,
well, anyways, it's great catching up with you, dude. Yourself, your brother, your parents, huge deal in my life. Growing up with the people I did made me who I am. Makes me be able to do this, right?
Yeah. And every time I see you, there's no handshakes or no nothing. It's straight into the hug. Straight
into your bubble. And this has been another episode of 2 Ales and Hockey Tales with Big Bays and Wally.